Welcome, traveler, to Atik Prior. Okay, no, let's drop the Transylvania via Tijuana bit and let's just go with the regular one. Okay, take 7. Welcome, traveler, to Atik Prior, a small, forgettable world out on the rim of the galaxy. A Rimworld, some might say. And it is not doing well. A small bug in the programming of all the Amazon drones on the surface caused them to label every man, woman, and child on the planet as a fragile package in need of their handling. The beatings then ensued.
Welcome to the life.
Within a week, the entire planet had been reduced to rubble, and only our 6 protagonists were left standing. This is the tale of Watney, Lewis, Johansson, Vogel, Martinez, and Beck. A crew of 6 budding astronauts just rearing to get out of the atmosphere. By sheer coincidence, and with a healthy helping of plot, they found themselves in the middle of an abandoned launch facility when the world went to hell. Not wanting to become the subject of a property damage lawsuit themselves, the team started fixing up an old abandoned rocket. Little did they know, though, that the drones were right behind them. And with the mechs and the rain beating down on the windows, Martinez slammed his hand on that launch button and blasted them off to the only place not yet corrupted by capitalism. The moon!
Space.
The landing was a little rough, and their rocket is in pieces, but they're alive. Surviving out there on the moon was going to be tough, but so are they. This challenge was pretty tough too. Turns out, space is kinda hard. The mods broke, the traders broke, and the quest system sort of just gave up on reality after a while. No more refugees on the moon. Many of these problems have been patched since this was recorded, so if you'd like to see part 2 of this challenge, leave a comment, like the video, and sub for the next one. Without further ado, enjoy the next 100 days of suffering on the moon. Being the best and brightest the world had to offer, the gang decided to dig into the very first rock they found. After throwing up a pair of scrap steel airlocks, they moved all their resources into the homey new cave and cobbled together some makeshift beds to keep themselves off the floor for the first night. An artfully placed hoopstone ring would be all the recreation they'd get for a while. The gang then decided to mine up some of the compacted high-grade steel that seemed to be sticking out of every nearby hill. They did not pause to consider the lore implications of this, so neither will we. Day 2 brought with it some serious construction. The gang started work on a quick ramshackle wall around their crater. There would be no more uninvited guests this time. They'd have to RSVP at least 2 days before if they wanted to get in on the buffet, which is quite possibly the worst joke I'm going to tell this whole video. Speaking of which, Martinez welded together a simple set of chairs and a table for the crew to eat off of and eventually throw up on. Johansson pointed out that their training didn't cover moon puke, and suggested that they get started on research ASAP to address this. A simple research table should be enough to get the ball rolling on some classic Rimworld waterless hydroponics. Anyway, day 3 was all about hydroponics. Johansson started work on figuring out how to put plants in a bucket while the rest of the crew prepped the cave. Plants in Rimworld famously need only 3 things to grow: light, heat, and an empty grid square. Nothing else. Nothing at all. A well-placed sun lamp and a pair of space heaters would cover the first 2, but the latter would need some creative thinking. In order to make it work, they needed power first anyway, and Martinez was able to pile together a few crude generators from the remains of the ship's engines. They'd need to find a way to make new fuel soon. Johansson planned out a few prototype hydroponics bays, and Lewis got everyone to collect more of that fourth wall steel. Day 4 brought with it our first major breakthrough. Johansson built the first prototype hydroponics bay, which taught the team a lot of what they needed to know. For example, that Johansson shouldn't be allowed to build things. Which makes this a good time to explain what's going on here. You see, vanilla Rimworld's research is very boring. Your pawn stands there, shuffles a few pages around, and eventually cracks Cold Fusion. The Research Reinvented mod changes things up a little. Now your colonists can speed up research by analyzing materials, building prototypes, and reverse engineering existing equipment. Prototypes aren't as good as the real deal, but they lose all their debuffs once you complete the research project. I'll include a link to a mod list in the description, but I can't promise that it hasn't already broken by the time you watch this. Martinez then started calling the place Lunar 3 after our Scrub Mars mission, and it just sort of stuck. Day 5 brought with it yet more steel mining, and some seriously low food reserves. The earliest rice harvest was still over a day away. Being an environmentally conscious dude, Beck decided to start looking into building some solar panels. After all, someone was just leaving all this sunlight lying around, we might as well do something with it. After doing some back-of-the-napkin math, Watney realized that they'd need a few more hydroponics trays and a nutrient paste dispenser if they were going to survive. Soylent. Now, some of you may not know this, but moving the nutrient paste dispenser over by one tile gives 3% more efficiency. Probably. However, Watney isn't just a botanist. He holds multiple degrees in quantum physics and put them to work wooing Johansson. It's been 5 days, people. 5 days. Day 6 was a bit of a downer for the crew. Food was extremely low and the rice just wasn't growing. Lewis ordered an emergency harvest to get everyone fed, but not before Beck taught Vogel how to play a friendly game of catch these damn hands. To his credit, Vogel didn't even flinch. It was then time to add some more hydroponics, plan out a basic solar grid, tend to Vogel's boo-boos, and deal with our first solar flare. These are the biggest threat to the colony, as all our life support systems shut down while they're active. Day 7 brought more heat to the streets, as the ongoing solar flare kept our nutrient paste dispenser offline. This meant that the colonists started crunching down on some raw rice, almost using up the last of our food. Lewis also ordered that an emergency door be put up to keep out the hungry masses. With the solar flare finally over, the gang immediately got back to work on the base. The rice was resown and the last of the solar panels were built. Lewis also ordered that the outer wall be completed and a roof be put up. It wouldn't stop the flares, but it would slow down the temperature loss. To round out the day, the crew dug up some old components buried in a wall, the lore implications of which they chose to studiously ignore. As will we. Day 8 saw the completion of the outer roof and the start of battery research. Plus, it was probably time for some lights. The prototype batteries were placed behind a power switch for reasons known only to the Elder Gods. This does nothing. It's not a fuse. I don't know what I was planning here. Feel free to mock me in the comments. Day 9 was fairly uneventful. The crew finished their battery research, repaired a damaged prototype, and did some more distressed mining. Vogel had the great idea... Sorry, it's actually kind of funny. He's so stupid. Oh, okay. Whew. Vogel had the great idea to wall off the batteries too, in case they tried to escape. Beck decided that the cave would be a lot nicer if Martinez smoothed it and ordered up some nice engravings. Day 10 brought about our first quest. Someone was clearly alive down on the planet and had tipped us off as to the location of an abandoned lab. With no way to get off the moon just yet, the crew had to shelve any rescue plans for the time being. I guess Jeff Bezos was just gonna have to survive on his own out there. Johansson was running out of parts for her Arduino projects and decided to look into microelectronics so she could eventually fabricate some more. Another emergency rice harvest topped up the gang's food storages, and Martinez continued work on the cave. Day 11 came around with an uncomfortable realization. The gang was running out of fuel, and would need to look into finding a renewable source soon. A prototype trading station was planned and built alongside some trade beacons. If there is anyone left out there, we're damn well taking all of their silver. Day 12 was all about cabling. The gang cleaned up the floor a little by moving old conduits into the walls, and adding a bit of redundancy doesn't hurt either. Day 13 brought with it the next major leap for the colony, a high-tech research bench. This would enable Johansson and Beck to research much more complex problems, like, for example, who ate the last burrito without sharing. There will be consequences. The rest of the day was filled with more busy work, and the addition of some larger batteries, also inexplicably placed behind a switch. Day 14 gave the gang their next, and equally futile, lab quest. They also completed microelectronics, and put down some larger food storage in preparation for the upcoming harvest. Day 15 marked the end of the gang's first month on the moon. They'd come a long way, but were still far, far from stable. As if to celebrate, the first true rice harvest came in and gave the gang some much-needed insulation from any potential narrative incompetence. That's what we call foreshadowing, by the way. Martinez continued smoothing the cave, and Johansson smashed through smithing research. Next up, machining. Day 16 saw the gang build some storerooms to house all their valuables, and keep the chem fuel from cooking off, probably also important. Day 17 brought with it our first true tragedy. Some desperate refugees had shown up, rather inexplicably, without EVA suits. I'll let past me walk you through how this one went.
There are 4 people, but they don't have spacesuits. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen to these poor people. Let's see. The refugees arrived, and they're immediately decompressing. If they make it inside, does that still count as decompression? Nope, they're all dead. Okay. No more refugees on the moon.
Due to our priority error in Johansson's spreadsheets, the colonists had been moving rice out of the hoppers and eating it raw. Earth's best and brightest people. Damn, they're smart. Despite this, Watney felt that we had enough of a buffer in place to try growing some cotton. These suits weren't going to last forever and may need to be replaced after all. A bit of fiber corn will also give the colony access to some critical wood. Great band name, by the way. Day 18 started off with Beck cracking the code on machining and continuing on to biofuel refining and the multi-analyzer. A prototype refinery is all the gang would need to get started on refueling their dreams. Day 19 is when reality decided to take the first of its many vacations. A quest for forced weather came up, offering 54 units of hyperweave, which is a high-value textile in Rimworld, in exchange for a perpetual raining thunderstorm. On the moon. No, I can't say no to that.
Okay, so there's forced weather, and apparently there's a rainy thunderstorm. Oh my god, it's actually raining on the moon. Incredible. This game is incredible.
Gang rounded off the day by planning some base expansions and a new airlock. Day 20 was a dark one for the universe. Work continued on expansion as normal.
Oh, by the way, never do this. Never build your bedrooms on a corner. It is so annoying to do. Why have I done this?
But the Rizmeister himself, Watney, was tragically rejected. They're still dating, but no moon wedding just yet. Days 21 and 22 were pretty forgettable. The gang chopped up some rocks and continued work on the new bedrooms and the living area. Day 23 saw the last of the excavation work completed. We also notified OSHA about some iron in the walls. Someone could get a nasty scratch on that. The gang also unlocked the multi-analyzer, giving a 10% boost to research speed, and unlocking even more. We also got our first cotton harvest in, and reprioritized the bays for rice. Day 24 was a return to form for the crew. While moving some wiring underground to improve the aesthetics of the base, the nutrient paste dispenser lost power. Being the hardened survivors that they are now, the crew bravely ate the last of their remaining food reserves raw. For those unaware, it takes around 15 raw rice to fill up one of our hungry hippos. It only takes around 6 if they eat it as paste. Now that's efficiency, baby. Oh, and Johansson agreed to marry Watney, I guess? But the efficiency, oh! He was so impressed by it, in fact, that she chased him around the map, hurling insults at whoever came too close. And so began the stupidest game of tag in lunar history. Eventually, Lewis had no choice but to lock her up. Oh, citizen, committed crimes against the state of the moon. Day 25 was another hungry one. We'd slipped into lunar winter, and the solar panels were now spending more time in the dark than in the sun. Interestingly enough, the thunderstorm's improbable lightning strikes actually lit up the panels enough for some brief charging each time they hit. Let's go Moonstorm, I guess? Johansson decided to teach those pesky electrons a lesson and began wailing on a battery before Lewis had to lock her up again. Day 26 brought with it a prototyped trading terminal, and the invention of light bulbs, but on the ceiling. There was also even more iron hiding behind the walls, which was quickly removed before the next workplace safety inspection. The gang decided to give Watney and Johansson the first room, more for the sake of their own sleep than anything else. They also added a crib, just in case. Johansson lost her damn mind again, and had to be thrown back into the slammer. Johansson and Watney's first night together was surprisingly celibate, but was interrupted anyway with yet another unreachable lab quest. Oh my god, Watney, the lightning almost here! Watney then brought in our next batch of fibercorn, and the crew decided to build Bezos a monument in exchange for some rich people medicine. The monument was planned out, and a small stockpile set up nearby to speed up the construction. Day 28 saw Watney and Johansson renounce up their vows and finally get jiggy with it.
Ooh, Johansson and Watney are finally getting it on. Maybe soon Babby will be formed. Did I not call it?
Work then continued on Jeff's monument, and the crew decided to start thinking about baby clothes. Day 29 brought with it the realization that if we were going to make it out of here, we were going to need transport. With fabrication underway, we'd soon be able to make all the components we'd ever need to build a ship. Work on the base and monument continued as normal until Martinez managed to finish it off. So long as nothing happens to it, we'll be just fine. Gang started planning out a rec room, but needed a little bit more wood, giggity, before they could finish it. Day 30 was one for the books. Martinez finished up our first chess table, and Commander Lewis got her own room. Lewis and Johansson got into an incredibly animated chess match, and the crew decided to focus research on auto doors and sterile materials next. Day 31 saw the first auto doors being built, greatly increasing the movement speed throughout the base. The bedrooms were absolutely freezing, and so Watney and Johansson got a heater. On day 32, the crew started smoothing the walls so that they could chase a few conduits through them. Don't ask me how that works. If anything, that would probably scuff it up a little, but I guess a little bit of plaster on the top and you won't even notice anything's missing. Please, dear God, don't reduce my deposit. And we finally turned on the ceiling lights for a work speed bonus while doing all the smoothing. Another truly unhinged quest followed shortly after, offering us a flat-screen TV in exchange for handling 19 hungry beavers. Ain't nobody getting my wood.
I'll take on 19 alpha beavers for a TV.
Day 33 marked the greatest battle in Lunar 3's history. 19 ravenous rodents stormed the walls of Beck's Deep, only to be turned aside by the decompression's arrival on the first light of the 5th day.
Yes. Alpha Beaver spacesuit?
Martinez added a few more solar panels to the grid too, I guess. And batteries are starting to run really low. We need more power. Day 34 rolled around and rolled right on by. It was completely uneventful. The crew continued work on their various tasks, and Lewis dug out space for a hospital and a research lab up near the dormitories. Day 35 was moving day. Everyone moved into their new rooms, which freed up a ton of space in the hydroponics cave that we could repurpose for more growing. Day 36 gave us our first fabrication bench prototype. This will allow us to fabricate our own components. No longer will we be forced to shatter the fourth wall every time we need to build another battery by digging out the ancient relics of a long-lost civilization on a moon that supposedly no one has ever been to. This completed the fabrication research, which would allow the crew to start work on advanced fabrication, which is like regular fabrication, but advanced. Day 37 came and went without any trouble. I'm sensing a pattern here. The gang added in some more lighting and decided to only make moon marble from now on for the aesthetic. Moon slate? That's so 2022. Day 38 saw Johansson reverse engineering some advanced components, granting a huge boost to research speed. The gang got to work renovating the hydroponics cave, and with this we almost doubled our growing space. Day 39 was another big one. Beck suggested that the crew make and equip some research kits to allow them to better observe the machines we already have in place. These can be looked at for an additional research bonus, and hoo boy does that speed up the overall time. Before this could happen though, Watney and Johansson decided to steal his spotlight and get married in the outer ring. Ugh, millennials. Watney made the first field research kits, which would allow our intellectuals to research things, but in a field. Day 40 saw the advanced fabrication research completed. This is a pretty big milestone. With now effectively limitless access to advanced components, we could begin planning our escape in earnest. Lewis ordered that we should keep at least 50 regular and 10 advanced components on hand at all times, and she recommends that you do the same in your playthroughs. We also got hit with our first eclipse, knocking out our solar panels and putting even more strain on our already struggling batteries. Day 41 was all about improving our quality of life out here. Fire foam poppers would protect against rapid unplanned disassembly of all the jerry cans we've got lying around, and deep drilling would grant us access to functionally infinite resources. Then the news came in. It was time to prep for our first moon baby. Oh boy, I am stressed.
Forget fire foam and deep drilling, dude. We need to get a hospital bed going.
Gang got to work right away on a sterile floor and prep the hospital bed research to improve our chances of a successful delivery. Successful. The race was on. A quick hospital was set up and Lewis had her heater stolen to warm it up.
I'm freaking out over here.
Day 43 saw the first prototype hospital bed being installed and the research finally finished. Oh man, we are running out of time.
What? The hospital bed's poor quality. No, strip it apart. Again. This time Martinez builds it.
Day 44 saw the installation of a new airlock and the finishing touches put on the hospital. I think we might just be ready. Day 45 saw the gang scrambling to get everything in place for the big day. We had a clean space, a crib for the baby, and a decent doctor. Now all we needed was some food. With another full harvest bringing our food resources to a whopping 1,000 units, Watney switched all the bays over to growing wood. It was also at this point that I realized that the weather had seriously overstayed its welcome. I think because the weather never changes on the moon and because the setting never updates, the rainy thunderstorm just never ended. Forcing it to clear up in dev mode seemed necessary to continue the playthrough without all the thunder and lightning. Day 46 brought with it the first clear skies in a while. Or rather, the first clear lack of sky, I suppose. Regardless, the crew continued the baby prep, digging up yet more steel and cooking up some emergency baby food, and added a small fridge to keep it in. On day 47, the gang finished up the new airlock and kept a close eye on Johansson. Day 48 started out largely like all the others. The crew began work on a sterile floor for the lab and switched over all the remaining doors in the base to auto doors for that extra speed bonus. And then it happened.
Oh, baby. Johnson, maybe don't go for a walk right now. Maybe go rest until healed, homie. We're gonna need to get Beck straight over here. Beck, my man, I need you. You're on lock, okay? No one else is allowed in the operating theater. Beck, don't fall asleep on the floor, you psychopath. A woman is giving birth. Beck, please, my brother, I need you to... Hold on, we're gonna have to sort out his schedule for this one. Beck, buddy, I need you to not do that. I need you to be awake and tending to Johansson. Yeah, you talk to her, you keep her comfy, you're just helping her out here, okay? You know what, hold on, we need Watney in here too. Watney, get over here. You're helping. Okay, the child has been born. The amniotic fluid is currently on the floor. Beck, you frickin' sociopath. Could you put the baby somewhere safe? Don't put it in the corner. Put it in the bed. What are you doing, you psycho? Put him somewhere safe. You're gonna take him to the bedroom. Okay. Okay. The baby's cold, but the baby's gonna be okay. Alright, lovely. Watney, go talk to your wife, you weirdo. What's Beck doing here? Beck is feeding Johansson. This is good. Johansson, do you need anything? You got a bit of postpartum exhaustion, you got some lactation going on, but otherwise you're fine. Okay. Mark it down, people. The 5th of August, 5501. Babby is form.
Baby Johansson was renamed to Teddy in honor of the man that made this mission and our previous ones possible. Day 49 brought with it a catastrophe.
Oh, that's a solar flare. Baby might be in trouble. Oh,
and indeed, Baby was. With the power out, the temperature in her room began to plummet. The gang rushed to make some warm clothing but couldn't make anything that would fit. I seriously started panicking at this point, but then...
Oh god, the solar flare ended just in time. Okay.
It was definitely time to look into a more robust solution, however. The radiators from Dub's Central Heating mod should work really well in this situation. Unlike the electric heaters, they require heating pipes and boilers to work and are much more power efficient per unit of heat generated. You know we're all about efficiency over here, right? However, while making the changes, the temperature in Baby's room dropped below freezing again. Oopsie.
Okay, the room is warming back up. Nice. Nice. Definitely didn't toy with Baby's life there.
It was then time to double wall the entire crater. This would help keep in the heat and would ensure that we didn't accidentally poke any holes in the base while we were, running more cables or doing any more insane stuff. Day 51 treated us to a sweet dance party. Oh yeah. The gang had a lot to celebrate after all. They'd come a long way.
I'm taking shots at the enemy.
Day 52 was a return to mundanity. Martinez continued smoothing the walls for conduits, the crew cleaned up the rec room, and planned out a butcher's table to process those beavers before they spoiled. Can't have our moon leather going to waste. On day 53, the new lab was fully set up, putting our research back on track. Deep drilling was up first.
And now for something completely different.
Wa-woo bagamaba ganadu nyawa. I haven't slept in a while, it's hard to keep focus.
Day 54 brought with it 2 new quests, one for an ancient relic and another for a second Bezos building. We accepted the monument task in exchange for 200 plasteel and a lifetime subscription to Prime Video. The deep drilling research finished right as we put down the marker. We moved the beaver meat outside and began renovating the kitchen. Day 55 saw the gang setting up their dining area and fridge. Facing the cooler's heat output into the outer ring meant we might be able to save some power on the radiators. Using the waste heat from the cooling process might keep that space just about livable, and therefore we wouldn't have to use the boilers to do it. And believe it or not, the heating plan actually worked. Genius isn't a word we use lightly around here, but I'll carry that burden for all of us. We also stuck down a ground-penetrating scanner and began the search for buried minerals. Day 57 brought with it yet more busy work. Beck spent the day scanning while Lewis and Martinez started quarrying a nearby hill for marble. Jeff's new monument was going to need a lot of it. Johansson started thinking about how to remove mountain roofs, and Vogel fried up all that delicious beaver meat.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Day 58 saw yet another obstacle on the road to poker. This time we were all out of cotton. We'd have to wait for the current crop of hops to finish before we could grow any more. The gang also put together an electric stone cutting bench, and truly, we live in the future. Day 59 was all about Jeff's monument. We needed more marble ASAP and decided to try deep drilling for it. Day 60 was truly one for the books. Not only did it mark 1 full year on the moon for these colonists, but more importantly, we got the poker table built, baby. Yeehaw! Now we just needed the stone for the chairs. For some reason the drills were producing granite and not marble though, so something must be broken there too. Normally in Rimworld, when you place a deep drill down on a specific kind of stone, you get that stone back as a resource, but it doesn't seem to be working here. I guess the moon doesn't map its textures to its underground very well. In fairness, neither do I.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
It was then time to finally and officially elect Lewis as Queen of the Moon. She's earned it. Her first official speech about the loyalty of artichoke gardeners brought many to tears, myself included. And then, while looking for more marble to mine, we discovered a bit of an exploit. When using the Designated Shapes mod to paint a mountain for disassembly, you can indirectly highlight any ore potholes in it too. This means we can basically divine where all the ore is, and I think that's pretty useful. The gang also tracked down that relic we were told about to a village on the surface. We should really go there sometime, huh? Day 61 was more business as usual. The monument needed a little more marble for the stele, Johansson figured out how to relocate mountains, and the deep scanner found some plasteel hiding in the center of the map. On day 62, we literally moved mountains. In fact, we removed a mountain on the top left of the base. The whole thing was just gone, with no rubble to show for it. Rimworld's a game all about realism, if you didn't know. The gang also set up a little mining camp near the plasteel. And in peak Rimworld fashion, we also finished Jeff's monument and received our plasteel. Day 63 finally brought with it enough marble to build the poker table's chairs. Little Teddy might finally learn when to hold him, and the mining camp got a solar panel all of its own too. Day 64 came and went quickly. The entire crew pitched in to finish excavating the mountain, and Watney suggested that it be used as another grow zone. The team set up an airlock and began removing the rock roof. On day 65, Vogel made little Teddy some new clothes from those beaver skins, and the second hops harvest came in. This was all going to be turned into fuel, so don't get too excited about moon beer just yet.
Oh, we're like completely out of food. Oh,
And then, due to some negligence on my part, we ran out of food again for what feels like the 60th time this episode. We then managed to find some buried steel and deep chem fuel deposits. We can mine the deep chem later and refine it into chem fuel. This is effectively an infinite source of propellant. We're gonna need this.
and some... Uh-oh, Lewis has fallen over. And oh, that is catatonic. And it's because the cave she was in was so ugly. Okay, here we go. Thank God.
Day 67 was another one for the margins. We brought in some rice just in time to avoid starvation. Johansson's malnutrition forced her body into survival mode, and so she stopped lactating. Teddy can't eat solid food yet, and so some emergency rations were cooked up and stored for her. Hopefully, no one eats those. No one would be that much of a monster, right? Day 68 came with the understanding that we needed help. Johansson began looking into making some Roombas to help around the base. Little robots are great, all they do is require power, and they can perform basic tasks at basic efficiency. Day 69. Nice. Day 70 gave us the Robotics workbench, but without a single trader so far, we didn't have enough silver to make them. Despite looking all over the map, we couldn't find any, but we did come across some buried jade and uranium, which would make valuable trade resources when those ships eventually did show up. Day 71 was a tough one. It was now very apparent that the orbital traders were bugged out and not spawning. Without them, it would be almost impossible to progress this series at all. Desperate for silver, we turned to the galactic stock market and found a contract for salt. I've never used this mod before, but I assume we dig up the salt and then give it to somebody in exchange for silver. We moved the mining camp over to a buried deposit we'd found earlier and rushed to make it. Oh, and that mystery ore we discovered? It was just components. Day 72 saw the cotton harvest, but not enough for the billiards table just yet. Watney then suggested sowing carrots and beans together for their mutual growth bonus. Day 73 saw the Holobot research completed, and yet more time in the salt mines. We were running out of time on the contract though, and so the entire squad was sent to the salt mines to extract the 600 we needed to complete it. The excitement was clearly contagious as Johansson fell pregnant again. Nothing sexier than salt, baby, we tell ya. We queued up some beer brewing to celebrate, but finding enough wood to build the barrels would be a real challenge. Spoilers.
What the hell?
Day 75 saw the start of our power problems. Well, rather, the continuation of our power problems. Lunar winter had rolled around again, and our panels could no longer keep up with the base. Lewis queued up some more panels and expanded the battery banks. With the beans ready, and the carrots not far behind, our food concerns were looking better. However, that was where the good news ended. Our salt contract had simply disappeared. There was one out there for spacesuit armor, but it didn't seem worth the risk. We only had one backup after all, and anyone could take a nasty punch at any point and then be exposed to vacuum. The gang packed up the salt mine drills and headed home with their tails between their legs. It was now painfully clear that the traders weren't spawning due to a mod conflict of some kind, and no amount of tweaking seemed to fix it. Spawning in a trader using dev mode worked though, and we sold them some hyperweave as a test. Day 77 saw the gang ensure that they had a solid supply of ice-cold pre-beers available by freezing their hops, and continued their endless smoothing work. Day 78 took us all by surprise. Maybe it was her new civilian command position, or maybe it was just the unique musk Martinez had developed after a year in space without a shower, but Lewis fell for him. Pretty hard, too. Maybe she isn't fit to lead after all. Beck then completed his research into growing spooky mushrooms and got back to work on the robots. The gang then tried to make a brewery but didn't have enough wood. I'll let you make the joke there yourself, a little homework for you.
I just want wood. Why are you making it so hard?
So no beers for us. Yet.
We're turning all into chem fuel. That's the new plan. New plan. Screw it all. It's all camp fuel now. Always has been.
Day 79 was chilly. We needed a lot more power to run the base through winter and to heat the new greenhouse too, and honestly, we just didn't have it. Day 80 was all about chasing conduits and chasing cars. Great song. Day 81 was just more of the same. Smoothing walls, running wires, and turning on lights. Honestly, it's nice to have a bit of a break from the craziness of last month. Mundanity doesn't hurt once in a while. Johansson finished researching Builderbots only to realize she needed robotic matrices to make them work, and so started on the research for those instead. Survival is not a myth. I have seen it. Food stocks were high and the gang was rarely settling in. Vogel then made some more field research kits and got the whole gang equipped. Watney then did an extremely phallic inspection dance at the robotics table. There's strange people out here on the moon. These moon people. Who would have guessed?
Martinez and Lewis just have the most romantic conversations. You would not believe it. For example, here, Martinez spoke about using cannons with her. What? And the next time, right up after that, she's talking about taming caribous with him? What? And then he's talking about crazy doves? Oh, these two goofballs. Such normal, sane moon people. What am I doing?
Day 83 better be marked down in your diaries because we got the billiard table, baby. Oh man, it's gonna change the game for us here. The gang also finished up their smoothing work and laid down some floors, which was nice. However, the celebrations didn't last long as the power grid was on the brink of collapse. In an emergency parliamentary session, the Lunar 3 government decided to implement short-term scheduled blackouts to preserve the power grid. No one's quite sure what to call this practice yet, but as a load is being shed from the national grid, the term shed loading has been proposed.
Uh-oh, we lost juice. Just in time for the solar panels to come back. Yep. We gotta expand that fast. Alright, well, give me another pair of panels, I guess.
Just as shed loading hit for the evening, Beck finished researching simple robot logic, but tragically realized that this required silver. As no traders had arrived since we landed, a decision was made to begin research into asteroid mining. If we couldn't trade for the silver, we'd dig it up ourselves. A quick review of the contracts on offer revealed that a golden knife was going for 3k silver, and so the team scrambled to get one forged in time.
Just in time for the power to run out. Lovely.
Day 85 started with the gang forging the knife by turning off the entire base first.
What is taking all my power? Probably these. Maybe it's like the 600 light bulbs we've got going on here? Yeah, that might do it. Let's turn those off for a moment. Let's just get our power back under control.
The contract was completed, but apparently required a caravan to collect it. Hopefully they packed spacesuits, but somehow I'm beginning to doubt that's going to work either.
We're going to try completing this golden knife contract. They'll arrive in 3 days. And I guess we just hope they don't die of decompression. They're probably going to die of decompression, huh?
Lewis ordered that construction begin on the new greenhouse. Hundreds of kilograms of solid steel will hold over to build a transparent roofing in a move our science division is calling impossible. Day 86 was largely forgettable. Despite assigning the Earth's brightest minds to the problem, no one could figure out why the power draw was so consistently high. It was as if the electricity was being siphoned off illegally, thus jeopardizing the continued survival of the entire country. Which surely wouldn't happen, right? Right? No one would be stupid enough to do that. Given the lack of power, it was decided that the greenhouse would use only Watney's magic soil formula and no hydroponics. I'm not sure where he's getting the stuff, but it smells horrendous.
Yo, Hanson, Jesus.
A pair of large radiators should be enough to ensure that the plants are warm enough to grow and that the soil doesn't die on us. Day 88 was all about intellectual copyright infringement. Watney planted potatoes in the new greenhouse with the sense of overwhelming deja vu, while Lewis expanded the space to fit more grow beds. Unfortunately, art imitates art, And while moving out the walls, the roof collapsed, and the room immediately vented its atmosphere. Roofs in Rimworld can only be at most 13 tiles from the nearest wall, and this room was right on the edge of that limit to begin with. By moving the walls out by one, we had to move the roof out by one as well, and the supports collapsed. I hate textures, by the way. The transparent roofs are less transparent than the regular roofs in Rimworld, making any gaps in them very, very hard to see.
But you see that sucker over there? 0 to 60 in 4.1.
Day 89 opened up with our first real chance at escaping this rock. With superpods researched, we now have access to reusable rocket platforms. Still, we'll need silver to build them, but we're getting closer. The greenhouse roof collapsed again, as is tradition, and Martinez threw down some columns to help this along. Day 90 marked almost 1.5 years on the moon. To celebrate, we made the fridge slightly larger. Never say we don't party hard out here. Day 91 marked us actually being on the moon for 1.5 years. What a milestone! We've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. Without access to silver, we can't build reusable rockets, and so may need to start using the disposable pods.
What is this? Elixion gas, steel, steel. That's not gonna cut it. Last steel, deep chem.
In the absence of any more ground silver, we decided to get fuel processing underway and pump up some deep chem. If we couldn't build the rockets, we could at least fuel them. Wait, hold on, that doesn't make any sense. Day 92 saw the gang lay out the groundwork for a complex hydrocarbon fuel refinery. Those moon dinosaurs are really helping us out here. Day 93 was Teddy's birthday. She must be sassy, as she'd picked up the nickname Madam at some point. She claimed Martinez's old room and got dressed. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like kids wear spacesuits, so she'd be confined to the base for now. Martinez somehow managed to wall himself into the refinery, and while on the way to help him, Johansson fell into labor again.
Nobody panic.
However, we were not as panicked as we were the first time. Day 94 was spent keeping a close eye on Johansson. This wasn't her first kid, and the labor, it wasn't going very well.
Watney Beck, get in there. I need you two to be a part of this process with her. Don't fall asleep, you sociopaths, man. Wake up. Oh, come on, come on. The birth is imminent. Oh, she's pushing. Come on, Johansson, just breathe. Just breathe, Johansson. Just breathe.
Baby Johansson was born successfully, however, she was really sick. Infant illness in Rimworld is a killer, and unfortunately this game isn't afraid to be really depressing and dark. Why's it gotta be so rough, man? Baby Johansson was renamed to Mindy, for another brother left behind, and was given the best medicine Bezos' monument could buy.
Okay, rescue Mindy newborn. You're consuming a nutrient paste meal. The child is dying. What are you doing, you psychopath? Okay, there we go.
By the way, if you're getting all the Andy Weir Martian references in this series, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think about them. Day 95 rolled around, and it was back to the grindstone. The refinery needed a lot more steel, and we needed to go digging for more. Research into the SARF Canary ship finished too. This is a huge cargo shuttle from the STRS expanded mod that would be able to haul as many resources as we could load onto it. Building this thing is going to be critical to our continued survival up here. Work on the refinery continued at a breakneck pace, and as if to celebrate, Lewis and Martinez decided to get married. Aw, congratulations, you stinky lovebirds. Day 96 saw the deep fuel pump completed. We needed to rerun the pipes though, as I had built the wrong ones. In other news, baby Mindy's illness had regressed to minor. She might just make it. On day 97, the pipelines were completed and the refinery kicked into action. We now had access to enormous, effectively limitless, amounts of fuel. We would need to find more deep fuel patches, but we now had the infrastructure to process whatever we found. Our initial optimism about Mindy was fading. Her condition was deteriorating quickly, and Beck wasn't trained for this. I mean, not many babies on a spaceship normally. While he puzzled it out, the team piped generators up to the new fuel storage tanks and began to run fuel directly to them. Saving a little bit of time on those refueling jobs would add up over the course of the series. Day 99 was a busy one, but at this point, when aren't they? Mindy's condition was still deteriorating rapidly, and Teddy began drawing all over the damn floor. These two things were equally concerning.
My, that is, My, that is, quite the animation, isn't it? Reminds me of something, I can't tell what.
It was also becoming increasingly clear that no one was coming to get that knife. Guess we're back to square one on the silver hunt. Maybe it's time to mine some asteroids or something, I don't know. It's not as though we're in space or anything. The base was also finally stable enough for the gang to get back to their more creative pursuits. Watney began work on a small jade statue to commemorate how far we've come, and Vogel threw a party while he was away. Can't believe Vogel will do him that dirty on the second last day. And, much like Watney putting the final touches on his statue, it was time for us to slowly draw the curtains on this play. Lewis, Watney, Johansson, Vogel, Martinez, Mindy, Teddy, and yes, even their sociopathic Dr. Beck have all come so far, but their journey is far from over. Will they ever leave the moon? Will baby Mindy even make it? Does silver actually exist? The answer to all these questions are up to you, dear viewer. If you would like to see more of the crew, then you know what to do. Like the video if you liked it, leave a comment about your favorite moment or our most frustrating blunder, and share this with a friend. Especially your grandma. Make sure she sees this video, she's gonna love it. And with all that said, we'll hopefully see you in the next one. Cheers. And of course, a huge thank you goes out to my channel members and patrons for this month, without whom none of this would be possible. You guys quite literally keep the lights on around here. Couch Potato, The Senate, Kelly Ananas, Bodeman82, Riley David, LCG Canyon Sahar, Knee Cruncher, Old Man Tater, Rivo, Adachi, Alan O'Selahair, Charlie Weber, Mermix, Melroman, Officer C4, and King of Hell. If you'd like to support the channel directly and you're not on this list already, you can find links to both my Patreon and channel memberships in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Day 18 started off with Beck cracking the code on machine. Noah, I swear to God, I keep reading this as I've written it, my handwriting's so bad. I read it as started off with cracking the code. A small bug in their package handling code caused every single Amazon drone. I can't speak words. I'm going crazy. A small bug in the programming of every Amazon drone. No, don't say every, say all. All the Amazon drones. It's so hard to make the words come good, ADHD. I hate you. But I love you. I think I'm losing my mind. I gotta open a window, man. Day 7 brought more heat to the streets. What the f*** am I writing, dude? A small bug in a recent software update to the local Amazon drones caused them to register every living being as a fragile package, and the beatings ensued. So stupid. Do you get it? Like, there's like a software bug, and then, because Amazon people, they beat up the boxes. You get it. They'll get it, right? There's not too much? Alright, a couple more of those.